Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Motivational speaker, the comeback coach, and goal crusher Joe Rivera brings you inspiring leaders, incredible stories, and valuable lessons on how you can change, grow, and reforge your life. Now, here's your host, Joe Rivera.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Reforge Your Life show. I'm your host, Joe Rivera, and here at the Reforge Your Life show, we love to show you that the comeback is more than possible. And today, I'm super excited about the guest I'm bringing to the show. Y'all are going to love the energy. The story's incredible. He's a business growth strategy coach, keynote speaker, Dan Sakowski. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt. Man, I heard your story, and there's no way I'm qualified to tell it the way you can. So I'd love for you to share with the audience your story, brother.
Sure. What do you want to know?
Lay it down, man.
Well, started from humble beginnings. Grew up in Elizabeth, New Jersey, in the projects. You know, my parents strive to give us as much as they can, but I truly believe that they had limiting beliefs on what they thought was possible. When I was around 14 years old, we moved to the suburbs. When we moved to the suburbs, unfortunately, the only way that was possible was my grandparents and my uncle moved in with us. So tight situation, tight living, not the norm. But they wanted to get us out of where we were. Throughout that process, my dad was disabled for a long time. He got hurt at work, and my mom was working as much as she can to support us. But I just saw something different. Going from the hood to the suburbs, I started seeing a different way of living from other people and through other people. And around the time I was 15 years old, we drive past Bon Jovi's house, and I remember like it was yesterday. And I tell the story all the time. Passing Bon Jovi's house, I never thought houses could be that big. And I see this house and I'm like, wow, what is that? And I thought it was like a store. And my dad goes, those are rich people. We're not rich. Like, we'll never be rich. So like something just processed that day where like, I'm like, I want to be rich. And I think during that time, that was probably like the early 90s. I think MTV Cribs became popular. And it's something that we watched and we were intrigued by because we saw that like the rappers, the celebrities had the houses, had the cars. And, that's what we kind of thought wealth was, I guess, growing up poor. So for the next 10 years, I chased money. And straight out of high school, 17 years old, started my own company. I made about $3.5 million from 17 to 24. 24 went bankrupt, lost everything.
What kind of company was that?
A construction company.
Okay.
Yeah, I had no business doing business, but I just wanted to be better and different than my parents were doing. And I knew every single person that had a job was broke, and I didn't want to have a job because I don't want to be broke. So I chased money and chased flash, had Escalades, S55 AMGs, housed in Mexico. Like, I had everything. I was 24 years old. I was living the drug dealer life. But I was hustling. And, while everyone around me thought I was a drug dealer because, my neighbors' kids were as old as me and I owned the house, I was just working and doing things that people weren't willing to do. But, life came to an end real quick. 2006 economy crashes and, phone stops ringing. I don't have any work no more. And, I'm forced to just let everything go and start all over. And it's a humbling experience when you have everything one day and tomorrow you have nothing. I remember 2006, I think I made like 680,000. 2007, I made zero. So I had to think real quick and see what I was going to do. But, what really was opening to me was I don't think people understand that, there's things that are put in our lives and situations and days and, just whatever it is, moments that are there to wake us up. And when I walked home from came home from my lawyer's office after, filing for bankruptcy with my first company, my two sons were there. They were sitting there and they were so excited to see me. And, my attitude changed real quick. I go, all that shit doesn't even matter. Like, I was doing everything for the wrong reasons. So I said, moving forward, whatever I do, it's not going to be money based. I'm not going to chase money. I'm going to make money secondary. And as long as I can have purpose and passion about something, I should always be able to get paid. So that's what I did. I started moving forward over the next 20 plus years and built multiple companies, sold them. I made a lot of money. But in turn, I lost a lot of money. I think people don't understand the risk versus reward process with entrepreneurship. And, I think everyone calls himself an entrepreneur, but realistically, like most people aren't entrepreneurs. Most people are entrepreneurs. They want to be something, but they're never really willing to follow through. I was a high risk taker, and people go, "Hey, do you regret going bankrupt?" I'm like, dude, the fucking government have this shit in place as a law for us to take advantage of.
Yeah.
Like I was willing to take a risk, feed families, have employees, and do things that most other people wouldn't do. And the world just kind of crumbled. So what was I supposed to do? So, just pressed forward over the next, like I said, 20 years, made a ton of money, made a ton of mistakes. And 2020, something happened. I had a heart attack, and life just changed for me, So I said at that point in my life, I said, I know how to make money. I know how to lose it. And what's the point? Like, if I were to die today, from the day I was born till today, what impact did I really have on other people? So I promised God, I remember I was like in the ambulance. And I think there's a common theme with people, like when bad things are happening, we pray for God to take us out of it. But throughout my entire journey over that past 20 years leading up to that point, I was always grateful for the good times and the bad times. I prayed every single day, no matter how good it was or no matter how bad it was. And I told God in that ambulance, after I said my goodbyes to my kids, because I thought it was over, I said, if you keep me here, I promise that like whatever I do moving forward, I will be a servant for you and for other people. And I won't worry about what I can do. I'll worry about what impact I can make. So from that point moving forward, I knew that, what I had to do was help people bring out the best in themselves, show people what's possible. So many people die with regret. So many people die at the age of 25 and they live till they're 80, because they stopped dreaming. One thing I never did was stop dreaming. Like everyone always tells me like, bro, like there's something wrong with you, because if I want something, I go after it. And I think that as a kid, I knew that I didn't want what was handed to me. Like the plate that I was served wasn't the one I wanted to eat off of. And at the end of the day, like we become so accustomed that, hey, this is the way it is. Just get used to it. And our parents tell us when we're growing up, like, we're lucky we have this. We're lucky we have that. And then a lot of people believe that. I was lucky enough to say that bullshit, like whatever you're thinking and whatever you're doing isn't what I want. So I'm going to start thinking differently. And I had a mentor at a very young age. And I think that's what flipped the switch for everything. And most times today, people go, what was your biggest regret? I had a mentor from like 17 to like 19. And at that point, I was 19 years old. I was making money. So like, I got this, right? So I kind of put the mentor thing behind. And the one thing I do regret from that point till I was 24 was I didn't ask for help. So I knew I had a mentor from that 24 years old until today. I still have a coach today. And it's important to know that, everyone who's super successful has somebody who's taking them there, 100%. So that's the position I felt I was called to do and be.
Yeah, man. And man, there's a lot to unpack there. I want to go back to losing that first business. Right. And what was, because I'm a big believer in, we are the story that we tell ourselves, right? That's the life that we end up living. And sometimes in the moment when there's turmoil in our life, it's difficult to remember that and to tell yourself, the impactful things and the things you can do to go forward. What was some of those limited beliefs that held you back in a moment like that for a little bit?
So honestly, dude, I don't think I had limited beliefs because I had nobody to go to. I grew out of my circle, out of my family. I black sheep my life real quick. And most of my friends at that point were other contractors who were 10 years older than me.
Yeah.
And we were all going through the same situations. And what I saw was some people were willing to do whatever they had to take, whatever they had to do to take their family to the next step. And other people just wanted to sit there and complain. So I said, I have two choices here. And I think because it all happened so quick, I was losing my money real quick. I had to file bankruptcy. I walk home. I see my 2 kids. Their arms are open. They're, wanting me to hug them at, 2 and 3 years old. I think right there, my switch was like, okay, listen, like you got to do whatever you got to do to make this happen.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to save you. And I think the world doesn't understand it. Nobody cares, so like we can tell everyone our problems, but people want to see us fail.
Yeah. 100%.
And I think what was crazy was that like, even my parents were like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'll figure it out, and you couldn't go and turn to people who've never been in that situation. So I think oftentimes is, when things happen in our life, we tend to turn to people who are closest to us and ask them what they think or what they would do. And that's the biggest mistake we could ever make.
Agreed.
If you've never been through something, I don't want to know what you think about it.
Yeah.
I want to know if you've been through it, how did you get through it? What was the things you did or shouldn't do?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
Right.
But I couldn't talk to those people. So I real quick just found something. And I said, like, my buddy called me up. He's like, hey, we can get paid every time the phone rings, whatever. I'm like, bro, what are you, like smoking crack? What the fuck are you doing? So I ended up going to this meeting, and it's like direct sales, like network marketing. And this guy in front of the room is making $40,000 a month. He's like 30 years old. So I'm like, fuck, I could do that shit. So I go up to him at the end of the night. I'm like, yo, what I got to do is like put people in front of it. And I read something in a book one time. At this point, I probably read like 10 books. To this day, I've read 996. But to this point, I read 10 books. And in one of those 10 books, it said, the best way to be the best version of yourself is ignorance on fire. The less you know, the more you'll get.
Real. Yeah.
So what I found out over the years is everybody wants to be prepared. And if you're over prepared, the opportunity's gone. You just have to be prepared to take on the opportunity. So I just literally had no idea what I was doing. I put people in front of it, just like the guy said. I think we made like $6,600 our first month. And then we made like $40,000 by like the 3rd or 4th month. I was like, fuck, whatever. And people go, what do you do for a living? I was like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Because I just had to feed my kids.
Right.
That's all I knew.
You remove the how,
which
is important, right? And that's what I think every successful entrepreneur I've come across, right? And I know my most successful times is when I don't worry about the how. When they don't worry about the how, they remove it from the equation, and you're like, I'm going to just fucking do this, because this is who I am. This is what I do.
Yeah. If the why is big enough, the how to is easy.
Yeah, 100%. And so when you first lost the business, what if you could put your finger on 3 reasons why, what would those be?
Dude, I was spending money like I was out of control because, I was from 17 years old. That was like 1999, 98 till 2004. Dude, money was just coming in. I was never worked in a time where I actually had to work because being a contractor back then, we were going through a place where construction was up, the housing market was up, everything was up. So I was taking that incline, bro, business was coming. So I never went through a bad time, and I never really had to like get my business started because as soon as I started, there was a lot of work out there.
Yeah.
And I never knew that like, hey, save your money because this one day will be over. I never went through that cynical. So the first thing was I was spending money like a fucking idiot, but I just thought it would just keep coming. The second thing was I didn't have any investment. I just kept like spending money on my business, spending money on myself, but I had no other thing to go out there and provide for me in the case that something like this happened. And the third thing is I didn't ask for help. So like I said before, like I didn't have someone guiding me because I thought I knew it all.
Yeah. Ego, man. The ego's a motherfucker. It'll eat you up, man. And so let's fast forward because I think a big part of the story is the heart attack.
Yeah.
And I want to take the audience through what that was like, those moments. What caused the heart attack?
So I have a leaky valve. My aortic valve leaks. My blood pressure is very high. I take pills every day to this day. No matter how much weight I lose or go up and down, shit ain't going. But it was a very, very hot day. I probably didn't take my pills for like 2 days. Sometimes I forget. I just don't even think about it because I'm always on the go.
Right.
And it was super hot, dude. It was over 100 degrees. I was with my daughter. We were doing stuff, and she's like, she wanted soda. I drank soda. She wanted to eat some shit food from Wawa. We ate shit food from Wawa, and like her mom picks her up, and then I just feel like shit. Like, I don't know, 10 minutes later after her mom picks her up, and I'm in my office, and I'm like, something's not right. I went numb wrist to wrist, and I knew something wasn't right. So I took a couple of aspirin, drank some water. But at that point too, like it just kept getting worse and worse. And like, I was just, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain the feeling, but like, like you're out of it. And all I kept thinking was I have to piss. That's all I knew how to do. Cause I drank so much water and I had to pee, but I don't know if I had to pee, but I had to pee because I didn't piss on myself in the ambulance. But I didn't know what was going on. I don't remember the ride to the hospital. I remember like sending messages to my kids. I remember praying, but I don't remember a ride. I just remember showing up there. And when I showed up to the hospital, there's all these people standing over to me, like asking me like, what drugs did you do? What's wrong with you? I'm like, what are you talking about?
Assumptions, huh?
Yeah. And I stayed in the hospital for 3 days until I walked out because they wanted me to do this and do this and do this. I'm like, call my doctor. Like at this point, I already knew like I had something going on in my heart from my EKGs and everything, but we just never like narrowed it down yet. So I'm like, call my doctor. Well, because my doctor wasn't in their group and in their network, they wouldn't call my doctor.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm stuck in this hospital and I'm on a fucking treadmill doing a stress test. I'm doing this bullshit. I'm like, guys, I got shit to do. Like, I ain't got time for this. Like, so, and I can't get a hold of my doctor, so I just walked out of the hospital after 3 days, went to him, figured it out. So I went into cardiac arrest. I came out of it. And then I think it's probably because of the aspirin. And my blood pressure was like 280 over, I don't even remember, 170, dude. It's like death. Yeah.
What was going through your mind in that moment? Like what were you feeling?
You honestly aren't even, you're not thinking because you don't even know what's going on. It's like, you're so when you see it like in the movies, like for real, like where it's like, like these patterns and these bleeps are going on. That's what it was like. It was like, I don't remember getting on the stretcher. I don't remember going in the ambulance. I don't remember that. I remember bits and pieces because like, you're just like, you don't have no idea what's going on because this whole like surge of whatever's going on is taking over your body.
What about, what was going through your mind after the fact? You wake up in the hospital. Fuck, I had a fucking heart attack.
I didn't even know what happened, honestly. And I didn't know I went into cardiac arrest until I went to my doctor.
Right. Oh, okay.
Like days later.
Wow.
Because bro, literally no bullshit. For the first 2 days, they're like, what drugs did you do? What drugs did you do? Because my blood pressure was so high.
Yeah.
And all this stuff. I'm like, I don't do drugs. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Didn't they fucking take a test?
But they did an EKG. They did like a cardiogram, all that stuff. And like, they saw some abnormalities, but they didn't see nothing crazy.
Right.
But what happened is my heart was leaking internally. Like my valve was leaking internally. Plus, like when I was young, I did mad juice. So, my heart, your heart's a muscle. So your wall is supposed to be, don't correct me. Don't like quote me on this if I'm right or not, but I think it's supposed to be like 7 centimeters. I think mine's like 3. So my wall's like super thick. So it works really hard to work. So that was another issue that I was like working so hard because it was leaking out or whatever was going. This is what my doctor told me.
Was that caused from the juice from back in the day?
Oh yeah, dude. I was a bodybuilder when I was young, bro. I abused the shit out of my body.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was jacked, taking everything, shooting every day.
Right.
Huge.
Comes back to bite us in the ass.
Dude, if I knew, like, you know what I mean? Like, but again, we always say, like, if we knew, I ended up ripping my quad off. So I got both my knees replaced. Like, I went through so much shit, in the gym. Thank God I'm still like fit today. And I think like it's all because of how big I was.
Yeah.
And I don't have to work as hard. But like, if I would have known like what that shit would have done to me, I probably would have like done a lot less.
Yeah, of course.
It's like drinking and hard drugs and everything. It's the same thing, bro.
Yeah.
Like it attacks you in a different way.
Oh shit. I know all about it, bro. Yeah, for sure. So, all right. So let's go back to after the heart attack. You have this moment with God, and you said that you always had a relationship with God. You always prayed for the good, for the bad. What did it do for your relationship after this heart attack?
With God.
Yeah.
So I think, God's got a little game out there. Like, how bad do you really want it?
He sure
You
does.
know,
He has
because
some sense of humor.
I truly believe people, I call people like there's so many fake prophets out there, like where, people say they believe, but they don't really believe or trust. They just believe when they want to believe. So I truly believe that he wasn't done with me yet, but he did that to slow me down. Like, bro, just take a step back and then make me realize that, like, building businesses is like, you're good at it, but that's not what you're supposed to be doing. So, and I just thought, oh, let me build another business. Let me build another business. This is what I'm thinking. Like, cause like I was good at it. I was like, fuck it. I was building another business. I got excited doing it, but now I can give two shits. And I look back at what I did. It taught me a lot, but it never fulfilled me.
Yeah.
Because I was always striving to get more and more. Yeah. Now today, when I get messages, hey, thanks, coach, hey, this, or this change, or, this is, bro, it's like, oh, fuck, you know what I mean? Or like someone messages you on Instagram and sends you a DM, like, cause you put a video out there that's 30 seconds long. And they're like, listen, I don't know how you knew, but you posted that video at the right time. And it's someone I don't even know, you know, like that shit's way more fulfilling than making $1 million.
Yeah, of course. It's, I always say that spirituality, living in purpose, closes the gap between spirituality and true wealth.
Yeah.
Right. Because spirituality is about being able to, of course, there's a higher source involved in believing something greater than yourself to help you unlock your fullest potential. I call it God. You call it God. Someone else might call it the universe, infinite intelligence, whatever you believe. Right. And that's a big part of spirituality. But spirituality is about walking, living in purpose.
Yeah.
And we've seen it so many times, right? With people out there, these famous people alone, right? Robin Williams of the world, Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
They had the world in the palm of their hands, but they end up taking their life. Why? Something's missing. What about the average billionaire that jumps off the fucking 52nd floor window? Why?
Yeah.
Because something's missing.
Yeah.
It's that purpose. It's that feeling of waking up without the alarm clock because your purpose is waking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And man, life without purpose, it's not a way to live life.
Nope.
Just going about the motions. And I was, I feel you on the whole, chasing that money. And that's an empty fucking tunnel you're chasing. There's nothing there. You know what I mean? So when did you realize that my purpose is bigger than me? I'm going to go and help people out there and do what it is you're doing.
I knew it when I was in that ambulance, and I said, like, if I were to die today, what did I really do? What did I really serve? Like, so we're born a certain day, we die a certain day. That hash in between defines us. Right. So my kids and their kids were going to run into people that knew me. What were those conversations going to be like? Oh, your dad built my parents a nice house 30 years ago and we still live in it. Gives a fuck, right. So versus being like, listen, like your dad changed my life.
Yeah.
Or your dad, like I got guys, who are successful, but they're in addiction. I get them out of addiction. I got guys who, they're just like, they can't get to the next step and they want to, kill themselves. Like I've dealt with it all. But it's just like being that person, being that vice to help people become their best self. And I think because I've always had that at a higher and higher level, being able to be that servant and help other people and get people in a good place in life and really show people what's possible. So no matter who it is I'm working with, just getting the next step accomplished or just getting that one trap that was holding them back from something bigger in their life is so fulfilling.
Oh.
And it's just amazing when your clients and students or whatever you want to call them come to you because they know that you're in it for their best interest. Even I'm coaching like one of my best friends, bro. Like it's crazy. Like I never thought I would coach him, but he's like, bro, I've seen the change that you've had in the last 5 years. And like, I want to be like,
yeah. They feel the energy. They want that energy in their life.
Yeah.
So So let's talk about that transition, because it is a big transition, and it's a world of a difference. To go from running the business that you were running to doing what you're doing now, going out there, putting your scars on the line for the world to judge, telling people about days that you didn't want to get out of bed, days that you lost millions of dollars. What was that transition like in the beginning?
So honestly, for many years I've been coaching people. As you probably have, as most people have, people always come for advice.
Yeah.
But I used to get super pissed off when I would spend an hour with somebody, hour and a half with somebody, and I would tell them everything they need to do, and they would do the opposite.
They don't want to apply it.
So I'm like, all right, well, this sucks. So like years ago, I'm like, I'm just going to start charging for my time. So I started charging like $100 an hour, $500, for a half a day, whatever, just because like, hey, if you're going to waste my time, at least you're got some skin in the game and hopefully you use it. But going into it full time, it wasn't hard. It was actually easier because all the stress of my businesses was off my shoulders years before. But just knowing that I was able to help other people, not only around me, but within my businesses grow, I had a gift. And so my last company was doing millions and millions of dollars, and I probably worked 15 hours a week. So I had it down to a science. So now I have to teach these business owners how to become the CEO of their company versus being the biggest employee. Because every single time I run into a business owner, they're stressed about and they're on vacation. They can't put their phone down. They can't do this. They can't do that because they're at a bottleneck. So I had a gift of being able to pull myself out. Now I teach other people that. So it's actually really fun what I do now. And I know everyone's excuses. I know everyone's problems because I've been through them. So it's super challenging helping yourself. It's kind of like, helping your kid ride a bicycle for the first time. Like, how much they can do it. And if they could do it, they just don't believe in themselves yet. Right. So it's seeing that transformation. So it wasn't hard for me. What was hard was replacing the income, and, I'm on my way up to where I was. I built myself a good foundation and got rid of my last company for a good dollar. But, the income that I had to replace, I knew that as long as I did what I had to do over time, it would be replaced. Yeah. So it was just an adjustment knowing that, I'm going to be serving. And then it's just all going to come later. Yeah.
I mean, that goes with having the belief in what you're doing and knowing that that's removing the how, right? Yeah. Not worrying about how the income's going to come in, just knowing that it's going to flow in and something happens when we walk and live in our purpose and we co-create our life with our creator, right? Because God don't reward wishful thinking, man. He rewards aligned action, right? Exactly. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yep.
So I'm curious because I believe that when we go through a tragic moment, like you went with the heart attack or somebody hits a bottom, that there's core values that are uncovered that journey. And we lean into those core values when times get difficult. This thing called life, this thing called purpose, there's going to be bumps in the road. It's not going to always be perfect. So, and those core values are what we use to be able to get through those times. So what are the core values that were uncovered for you through that journey?
So number one was purpose, living life on purpose for a purpose. Mm-hmm. The second thing was creating true freedom, not only for myself, but for other people. The next one was like leading with integrity. When I had my old companies, it was like, and I was talking to somebody on the phone about this on the way up here today. It was like the next client was my next dollar. So I have this guy that I'm coaching and he's like, I'm like really depressed right now. And, I'm not doing well. And I'm like, let me just stop you right now. I've been watching you for the last 30 days. I know exactly why you are the way you are. You look at the next person as your next paycheck. Start serving people, giving people value, and then you'll get paid. When you put money secondary, your whole life will change. And you have to have the reason why you're doing it has to be greater than $1, because dollars come and go. And if you chase money, you're going to chase it for the rest of your life. And dude, he was like, you're punching me in the stomach right now. I'm like, dude, I hope it hurts. I said, because I'm going to tell you everything you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And then he texted me like an hour later. He's like, bro, like that was a wake up call to me. Like, thank you so much. And I'm going to be an example for you. I go, I don't need you to be an example for me. I need you to be an example for you, you know? And it takes a lot for people to like unreveal what's really going on inside. So for me, I just knew that my values back then were just to grow things for me. I knew my kids would never take over my companies. I didn't want them to. They sucked. You know, who wants to do that shit for a living? Right. But you know, that's what I knew how to do. But now what have I taught my kids? It's grit, you know, just knowing that, you know, you have to have faith in all times. And my kids have faith, bro. My kids listen to Christian music. We were driving home yesterday from Detroit and my kids blasting, you know, elevation worship music and singing every song. I'm like, this is fucking amazing, bro. You know what I mean? Like, just to know that, like, you know, your kids, even though they listen to that bullshit rap stuff, and even though they do dumb shit with their friends, their heart's still with Jesus, and they know that like there's something bigger than them. So, I mean, all that stuff, just being able to know that you're doing good for all the reasons outside of you to serve other people.
There's something special about leading with being of service. It's, man, the doors that just start opening, the mountains that get moved, and the feeling inside is priceless.
100%.
Priceless.
100%.
So I'd love for you to tell the audience what you're doing now and where they can find you.
Sure. Yeah, I got a bunch of stuff going on. Big D is me. So I've created everything with the Big D movement. I've got Big D Mastermind, Big D Coaching, Big D one-on-one coaching. I've got the 7-figure blueprint syndicate, which I've created, showing entrepreneurs how to go from 6 figures to 7 figures and more. We do tons of stuff with that. But really, I've created a brand, the Big D brand, and my brand is all about, you know, wealth, freedom, and relentless execution, showing people what's possible with no bullshit, no excuses, and just going after things relentlessly and understanding what freedom is. Most people don't know what freedom is. Like, they think because they got fucking paid time off, they have freedom. No, you got to go back to your bullshit. Right. So like, freedom is all about being able to do what you want to do. I'm going to give you an example. Over the last 5 days, last Wednesday, today's Monday, we took a road trip, 9 hours in a car, and we spent 9 hours in a car. We hit 5 pro sports games in 5 days. I spent those 5 days with my kids. I didn't have to worry about money. I didn't have to worry about answering to nobody. I didn't have to worry about anything. And today, when we got home, and the thank you I got from my kids and how it made them feel and what I was able to show them was possible. So many people have limiting beliefs, and we were talking to a lot of people throughout the trip, and people struggling to go to a game, how much they're, you know, paying or doing all this stuff. When you're doing things for a reason, like, you don't have to look at the price tag of life.
That's right. Like,
everything is going to fall into place. Everything, you don't worry about the money. That's what people always worry about, the money. Like, I can't afford that. I can't do that. You can't afford not to do that. The memory is greater than the dollar, because the dollar will always be there, but the memory will be lost.
Right.
So being able to do stuff like that is the true value of where my life is today. But also, like, throughout that journey over the last 5 days, just having my coaching clients hit me up with a text or whatever, you know, things that they were thankful for over Thanksgiving and, you know, different things. It's just, I'm just in such a different movement of life now. And I've created that whole thing with my social media presence, everything I deliver. And one thing I just want to share with people is this. There's so many fake people out there. There's so many fake coaches out there, people who want you to buy things from them because they offer you a service, but there's really no value. If you're ever going to work with anybody in anything, whether it's a fitness person, whether it's a business person, whatever it is, don't ever buy a shovel from somebody who's never used a shovel.
Right.
So make sure that whoever you're locking in with in your life, it's like you're married and you want to go to a marriage counselor that doesn't even have kids or isn't even married. Like, where's the value? You know, professors profess, you know, and practitioners go out there and practice. Find a practitioner, find someone who's actually done it. And this happened to me back when I was 15 years old. This was like a big awakening with what my dad said. My phys ed teacher was a fat shit. and my business teacher never owned a business. So at the end of the day, people are put in seats to fill them and educate other people on what they should be doing, but they're not following the same value. So make sure you follow people with the same value. So you can find me on Instagram, Big Dan Official on Instagram, Big D Coaching, all different stuff out there, and dansakowski.com. And if you do hit me on Instagram, that's my most active platform.
Okay.
I'll hit you back. I'll message anyone back. You have any question. I give tons of free value. If you look at my DM threads, like there's so much going on. You'll personally get messages from me. I'll literally spend days and weeks with you to make sure that you're a better person and not ask you for $1.
Love that, man. And all that's going to be in the show notes. And I love the piece on making sure you're doing your homework on who you're doing business with. So important. There is so much fakeness going on out there. And you want to check in with the person you're dealing with and make sure that they're not just talking the talk, they're walking the walk.
Yeah.
Right. And deal with people who are people with lived experience, not people with want to be experienced, or they want to be in that position and want to talk about that topic that it is that you're struggling with, man, because people will be out there to get you instead of helping. Sad.
Flash means cash for one person, not for everybody.
That's right. That's right. So a couple of questions that I ask all my guests.
Sure.
The first is, what does the word purpose mean to you? I know that's a big one because you spoke about it a few times.
So purpose is basically how you define your life. That's your hashtag, your hash in between your born date and your end date. Your purpose is what you desire the world to remember you by. How are you serving, and what are you actually here for? And I think you talked before about rock bottom. So we all hit rock bottom at one point in our life, but that rock bottom looks different for everybody. You have two choices. Like, you can't go any further. You either stay there and you feel bad for yourself and you think the world's going to take care of you, or you go, okay, well, this sucks and I don't want to stay here any longer. And you do what you got to do to get out there. Now that's when you find your purpose, because everything that got you there to that rock bottom were all the wrong reasons that you were living life. Now you'll get yourself out of it. And listen, as an entrepreneur and as someone who does crazy shit, you're always going to have these up and downs.
Of course.
But to hit that rock bottom, you're definitely following the wrong things in life that are guiding you to the wrong directions for you to actually be all the way down.
That's good. And something that's important that you mentioned earlier for the audience to pick up on: when you're at that bottom, don't be afraid to fucking help.
Yep.
It's so important. You got to remove the ego. And I think that that's a big problem that a lot of entrepreneurs out there have, is they allow that ego to get in the way.
Put pride in your back pocket.
Yeah.
So
put pride in your
back pocket and humble yourself, but ask for help from the right resources.
Yeah.
Not people who you surround yourself with who don't care and want you to strive. Those people that you remember. Think back. There's people out there in your life who've said, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Keep going. Find those people and lock in with those people.
Yeah. 100, man. That's real. And when you hear the word reforge, what comes to mind?
I don't really use that word all too much. But I don't know. Like, honestly, like, I just think for reforging yourself, reforging your purpose, reforging your life, like, you just got to get yourself in alignment, right?
Yeah.
Like, you got to get yourself really in a place where, like, you're going after something that's going to be super fulfilling. But there's like a pivot point where that happens. Like, you gotta like catch that moment when it happens, or you're just gonna stay stagnant in life. You know.
Yeah. Let's go back 20, 25 years, and you see the old young Dan right in front of you. What's a piece of advice that you give him?
Bro, you're not as smart as you think. People are willing to help you. Just go find them.
Right back to the asking for help, man. It's like a circle.
I'm telling you, that's why I've read the books I've read, the amount of books I've read. That's why all my coaching clients, like, a big part of their homework is reading books, because, like, you have to remove conditional thinking.
Yeah.
You have to remove social media. You have to remove fucking TV. You have to remove all the noise in the world. And if you want to learn and be educated for the things that you feel you deserve in life, you need to learn and earn from the right resources. And I can't read a book. Well, that's great. You know, it's 2025. Everything is auto.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no excuse today.
Right.
You know?
Right. There's so many different avenues to learn from that. It's There really is no excuse. You know, if you're not able to learn and succeed, shame on you. You know what I mean? Because you have every fucking resource out there now, man. I wish we had some of that shit when we were coming up.
But the problem is people think they're going to watch a 30-minute YouTube video and they're going to change their life. Like, understand something. Information doesn't mean anything until implementation.
Yes.
Like, you need 100%. To implement the things that you're learning, but you also have to forget about the things you've learned.
Yeah.
You know,
unlearning is just as important as learning. Yeah, that's real. It's just as important. So there's somebody out there right now who's looking to reforge their life, and whether it's in their business, their finances, their relationship, their health, and they don't have the resources, they don't have the know-how, the tools. What's one piece of advice you could give that person?
Well, the first thing is nothing's going to change until you change. For things to change, you need to change. You need to change everything you're around, everything that is inside of you, everything that you believe. And life doesn't get better by chance. It gets better by choice. And you have to make that choice. And I think a lot of people we're sitting at the end of 2025, right? So today's the first day. This is probably going to come out after, but today's the first day of December. So many people have tripped up over the last 11 months and didn't do anything. Now what they're saying is, all right, after the holidays. So they're treating the entire month of December as a holly month instead of a holiday, right? They're putting off whatever it is until that someday. Someday is not a day of the week, right? It doesn't show up. And if it's good enough to be put off until January 1st, it's not important enough for you to ever execute on it.
Yeah.
So if you want something so bad in your life and you want things to change so bad in your life, you have to start now, and you can't wait any longer, because the longer you wait, the less you really want it.
Right, man. And waiting for that perfect time is an illusion that don't even exist.
Yeah.
Perfect. Best time to start is now.
Right.
And procrastination's a motherfucker.
Procrastination's opportunity's natural assassin.
That's it. Yeah. I always say procrastination's the grave opportunities buried in, man. For real.
Yeah.
Man, Dan, I appreciate you coming through, brother. I knew you were going to bring the knowledge, the story, the power, the energy, and you did that times 1,000, bro. So
with 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah, with 4 hours of sleep. So I'm grateful for you coming through, taking the ride down here. And I'm grateful we were able to share this platform together.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Of course, you already know.
Keep helping people. Keep helping people and giving them everything that they need.
Appreciate that. And for everybody out there listening, watching, I'm going to ask the same ask I always ask. Don't forget LFSS, like, follow, subscribe, and most importantly, share the episode, because there's somebody out there right now who's looking to reforge their life, their business, their health, their finances, their relationship, and they don't have the tools, they don't have the know-hows, and you sharing this story or past episode can help them change their life. So don't forget to share. Stay productive, stay purposeful, and stay blessed, y'all.
You've been listening to Reforge Your Life with your host, Joe Rivera. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. To learn more about Joe Rivera and how he can help you or your organization reforge your life and regain your place at the top, head on over to withjoerivera.com and follow Joe on all social platforms. The Reforge Your Life podcast was produced by Thrive Loud Productions. Thanks for listening.